Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's webinar. My name is Jay Berkowitz, and I'm so pleased to be here with my friends Darren Stewart and Kevin Moran from Stewart and Stewart. And I'm just going to share slides here. And we will get this header up. Although I like to have the big faces too. So today we're going to do an awesome case study. I think it's awesome because I'm proud of it, because it's a hockey stick, and a hockey stick in business terms means your growth chart looks like this chart here on the left, and a hockey stick is obviously shaped with the blade and the shaft in such a manner that you want your business results going up and to the right. So today we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna introduce my friends. First of all, Darren Stewart is a partner of Stewart and Stewart, and he was born in Louisville and lived in Indy since 1970. And he's a partner in the firm, and he represents families during tough times when they have accidents, and handles wrongful death, automobile crashes, truck crashes, product liability, construction injuries, and other severe injury cases. And he's a dad and a husband to Giselle, who I've met, who's awesome. And I think one of the coolest things, he rides a motorcycle and a fire truck, and he participates in many local parades and events. And there's lots of great other things. I know Darren pretty well now for 5 or 6 years. So without further ado, let's meet Kevin Moran, who's the Director of Operations. And he joined Stewart and Stewart in 2017, and he oversees the firm's intake department. And his bio says he leverages data gathered from every single lead to accurately assess and improve the firm's marketing. But you're going to see that this guy is awesome with data, and really that's been a big part of the hockey stick. You know, even though I'm a former Canadian hockey player, I can't take all the credit for this hockey stick. These guys have been a big part of it. He has a fascination with numbers and metrics and a love for daily scrambled eggs, and he recently completed the Chicago Marathon. So golf clap for that. That's awesome.
Thank you. That was not on the stuff I provided for you, so thanks. You're too kind.
And we have one small surprise, Kevin, if you don't mind opening your box.
Okay. Who's responsible for this? This is gonna be one of those like things that blows up and it's like glitter all over. Okay. All right.
So for a long time now, we've been saying Kevin is the client of the month, the 10 Golden Rules client of the month. And we'll talk more about that later on. But we've officially given him the 12-month consecutive client of the month award, because he's been challenged by a couple other clients lately.
The packaging is nice.
It's not a unanimous winner anymore.
Holy cow.
So congratulations to Kevin Moran, the 12-month running.
So much. This is really cool.
He deserves it. Congratulations.
You all will see why in a minute.
All righty.
So,
well, thank you,
and we're gonna talk about the website and SEO and local service ads, Google screened, and we're gonna cover all kinds of marketing that contribute to the hockey stick, and we're also going to talk about what makes a great client and what makes a great agency, and then we'll wrap up. So a little bit about me. I'm an author and speaker, and worked for Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Sprint, and got my marketing chops early working for some big Fortune 500s. And then I wrote the 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing, one of the first real books about internet marketing in 2003, and launched my company 10 Golden Rules back then. Now I have my credibility as a hockey player. It's either me or my buddy Dan in goal for the University of Winnipeg Westman. And I couldn't remember exactly the helmet. That might be my helmet or his helmet, but I definitely earned my chops. And now I play a lot more tennis. This is my tennis team with Yvonne Lendl. Yvonne Lendl is not on our tennis team, but we got to hit with him one night. Mm-hmm. And we moved from Canada to Boca Raton. There's my wife, Bonnie, and my dog, Parker. And early in my career, I mentioned I worked for McDonald's. I literally had an office next to this guy, Ronald McDonald. And this guy, George Cohan, was down the hall, the CEO. And then I moved my career to get into technology, and I worked at Sprint, getting people their first emails and getting companies their first websites. And then I moved down to eatdiets.com, which was a startup.com, and we got that business up to $60 million in revenue. And I learned through $40 million a year of advertising what works and what doesn't work in internet marketing back in 2002. And I wrote the 10 golden rules of online marketing. So that's was the genesis of our company name, 10 Golden Rules. And my new book, Advanced Internet Marketing for Law Firms, comes out this summer. We work with a range of firms all across the country, about 50 different locations across the country. And without further ado, let's get into the case study and talk about hockey sticks. Just move you guys over. So the first section we call He Shoots, He Scores, and that's what we called the webinar as a example of a hockey stick, and that's a hockey term. And each month we present a dashboard, a performance dashboard to our clients. And Stewart & Stewart has been achieving the famed hockey stick status. And we see here that they had 5,100 users, up 132% year over year. Organic, so just coming from free Google SEO, was actually up 289%. Phone calls are up, organic phone calls are up, form fills are up, and chats are up. So this is the graphic that represents the chart that represents the organic users. So these are all free users coming to the website, free organic searches, not paid for, although we are doing some paid stuff, you'll see. And these are conversions. So we went from 90 or 100 leads a month to 150, 212, and 373 leads. So this is that coveted hockey stick shape that we want to see in all business performance. And I always throw my Winnipeg Jets logo in there as well. Now, step one is getting leads, and step two is converting those leads to clients. And this is where I'm going to segue to Kevin to talk about some technology and some systems they've developed to take the leads and follow up on the leads and convert the leads. So Kevin, please go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of our CRM, we use Lead Docket in order to work leads more efficiently and certainly establish a level of accountability. This is our home screen, if you will. Every time we log in every morning, this is what we see. And ultimately, what this allows us to do is to give each single lead basically a status. Every single lead has a different status that allows us to prioritize how we're going to work that lead. Every case category has a certain value too, and we assign that value to the leads as well. As you can see, we kind of have a home screen that allows us to see how many leads we have gotten in that day, in the month, and how those compare to the month prior. From there, we kind of divide them in, the categories that I mentioned. And, as you can see, we have 41 leads that we want. And out of that, we decide to approach them and turn them into signups. And out of the 41 so far, we have 13 signups. On the home screen, we see the different statuses in terms of, chasing people, under review, meaning that we're currently waiting on some information to make a final determination on the lead. And ultimately, we establish tasks. The importance of the home screen, too, is that we can see what everyone is actually working on. And that actually segues into the second slide, I do believe. Yeah. And essentially in real time, as you have the lead docket open, you see who's working on what and when. So as you can see on the recently updated leads, you can see that, there's updates constantly happening. And if we don't see those updates, that means that somebody's actually not doing their work. So assigning each lead a certain status is super important in order to prioritize. In a game of receiving 250 to 300 leads a month, it's hard to remember things. So Lead Docket allows us to prioritize and, establish, what our tasks are. And that way nothing falls through the cracks. I think that goes to the segue into the second and third. Yeah, there we go. From that dashboard, you can click on individual leads. This is a particular one that we have selected. From here, we add, I think, working the lead. Yeah, this is where we actually add the notes. And as you can see at the bottom, you can see the timestamp of every update that we have made on the notes. It's not just about the phone number, and the practice area that that actual number actually pertains to. We update it, and if we don't hear back from the lead, then we can send them messages, we can send them emails, we can send them links to our videos, and we can put them on a chase kind of status. I think that's the next one. Yeah. As you can see here, Darren's been involved in this one. This client is an auto accident client. Darren talked to this client. I talked to this client, and you can see that one of our intake folks here was actually sending them emails. The goal here is to always, be in contact with them and ultimately pursue a sign up if it's a practice area that we really want to sign up. In this case, it's an auto accident. From there, we can actually establish, where our metrics are on the month. This is a sample that I pulled up in terms of the marketing reporting that we can do. We can do all sorts of filters that allows us to gather the specific metrics that we're looking to fine tune. This is basically the signups that we have gotten in terms of a year, and for the years this year, and what marketing source they correspond to. And on the next one, I think you can see that's the actual conversion, not just the leads, but how they're actually broken down via conversion on the whole. Web search is pretty high. We have a lead gen vendor that is also pretty high. And this allows us to actually provide that direct feedback to Jay in terms of what's working and what isn't. And at the end of the day, we have a tally, which is a real-time conversion table of everything that we're signing up on the month, via practice area, where it came from, and how we're actually ranking it in our system. Not all leads are created equal. Some are more profitable than others. And we like to gauge our performance, not just on the number of signups, but on the quality of the signups. And this allows us to kind of gauge that and leverage that in terms of feedback for Jay. So.
Awesome. So now you all see why Kevin's or you're starting to see why Kevin's the multiple time client of the month, because he's involved, he's doing things, and he's converting our leads into signed cases. And like, the agency can't succeed if we just send over leads. There's a lot of work to be done to have great intake and great conversion. And then obviously the program works, because web listings and web leads don't make anybody any money.
Mm-hmm.
So next up is the new website. And I guess the website's been up for about 18 months. We worked on it for about 6 months. And we'll show you some of the great components of winning websites. So here's the website and the design. And you can meet Phil, Darren's dad, and that's the other Stuart in Stuart and Stuart. And first and foremost, we often make a mistake of designing a website on a big Mac screen in some designer's office. But really critical in personal injury and frankly any business today is your website's got to work in mobile. It's got to be responsive, meaning it shrinks to different size digital and mobile devices, and it's got to be super highly optimized so it works really well in mobile. We start out with a project brief and a project timeline, and that's how we manage the website projects. We build an SEO site architecture. So that's a pretty sophisticated back-end architectural structure for the website and all the pages, and in particular the SEO, the search engine optimization. Great websites have to have great brand positioning, and we did some work on the positioning, sort of repositioning with some of the terminology that the Stewarts had before. And also authentic images are very, very important in a local market. And so you see the cityscape in the background and the Stewarts, very important to sort of have that personality and that authenticity when people come to the website. Equally important are conversion elements. So you've got to have the phone number prominently at the top of the website. I actually prefer the right-hand side, but in this design, it's on the left side. And what's called a sticky header. So you see here, we've actually scrolled down the website from that image we saw at the top. And no matter how far you scroll down the website, all of the key calls to action is on what we call a sticky header, meaning it sticks to the top as you scroll down. And we also have the chat functionality. Chat's really important. About 10, 20, 30% of your leads are going to come through chat by adding this chat function to your website. And then if we scroll down here on cases we handle, we see all the different practice areas. Also really important, and important that you build out those pages for SEO. We've got all the trust elements. So you want to have affiliations, awards, large verdicts, are here as well. And then we have client reviews here also on the website. So you're giving social proof, authenticity, credibility through all of those things. And so with that, I'd like to open up Darren to comment on the website and the process and some of the feedback and results you got from the new site.
Thanks, Jay. We really needed a website redesign when Jay got involved to redesign it. Speed of loading on the pages was too slow. We wanted more video. The video was slow. So completely rewrote our website. I don't know how all that works. It's too technical for me, but it's what was important to us is the speed of loading the pages, the smartphone accessibility, and making the website very clean, very simple. I see a lot of real wordy web pages out there where they've got huge paragraphs. We do that, but it's in the blog pages in those places. I just wanted a very clean, easy to navigate website that was always asking for the case, always asking for the call, always asking for click here for more information. Constantly doing that in the website. It's almost annoying, I would think, but it works. The feedback we've gotten from a lot of people is just that. They really enjoy the cleanness of the website and how easy it is to use, which is important to us. The video aspect of it was huge as well, linking it to different videos, because we had so many videos produced and we didn't have them out there. And so Jay completely redesigned how we get those out there. How you get to them is easier based on topic, and having them all available for people to watch. You'd be surprised how much people will watch your videos and then make a decision. They get to know your personality and use it as an opportunity to let them get to know you and who you are, because a lot of times, as we know as attorneys, clients will make a decision based on the salesmanship of the attorney, whether they like the attorney or not, whether they feel comfortable with the attorney. So that's one thing we try and do as well.
By the way, for the rest of this hour, whenever Darren says Jay, he means Jay and team, because I didn't do a single design or write a single line of code for this website, and we've got an awesome team that works very passionately on our client accounts. Kevin, anything to add?
Like Darren said, it does have a lot of call to actions, and I think it does present the brand element that we strive for, which is personal. A lot of the other competitors that we have here in this market, it's just like a website and it looks like corporate. As you can see on these ones, we have videos everywhere and they're all about Darren, and Philip and family, that kind of thing. So I do think that makes it stand out. And like you said, it is mobile friendly, can go wrong with that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, like 82% of our visitors and ultimately the conversions that we do get come from mobile. So if that's not working, we are not doing well. So I'm glad we were able to do that. And ultimately, it is responsive. So we're always, working on it and making sure that it's available to basically every single device. Just the other day, and I think this speaks to our working relationship, Darren's always, in the middle of the night, just randomly testing it in some iPad or whatever. And he mentioned it to me the other night. This is true. This is true story. And like 9-10 p.m. is like, what is going on here? And that's how we keep it fresh. And you guys are good sports about it. And we work together to make it work. And I think
who's going to monitor your website more passionately than you?
Yeah. So no, we're very pleased with it. And it has made a difference. So
awesome. Well, thanks, guys. So the next section, I wanted to just tap into golden rule number 10. And golden rule number 10 of the 10 golden rules is lead the trends. And the sort of genesis of that was pop-ups that came up in 2002 and 2003. And if you guys remember the pop-up, it would pop up over your website with an ad for another website. And at first they were doing great. They were getting 30% click-through rates, and banners normally get 1% click-through rates. And after a while, we would start getting 2 pop-ups and 3 pop-ups and 10 pop-ups. And we started getting sick of them as consumers. And we asked our internet service providers and our virus checkers to get rid of the pop-ups. And within like 6 months, pop-ups went from 30% success rate to really being, the most negative thing in the world. We all hated pop-ups. So lead the trends says that the opportunity in that first 2 or 3 months when we were getting 30% click-through rates you can't miss that window. Sometimes we have a 3 to 6 month window to take advantage of a new marketing technology or a new marketing opportunity. And the pop-up of 2021 was Google Screened, the lead the trends opportunity of 2021. And we uncovered this, that it was rolling out across the country for lawyers, market by market and practice area by practice area. And as soon as it was available for personal injury, Darren and Kevin hopped on it, and on our advice, and got screened or approved by Google. And very, very quickly, they appeared in the top 3 locations in all the searches in Indiana. And why is this so important? Well, it's so important because if you weren't one of the first 3, or if you weren't one of the first 10 or one of the first 30, very quickly, maybe a couple hundred people got screened or approved in your practice area, in your marketplace. And Kevin in particular really got on this and learned as much as he could working with us about how to get, in that top 3, and took advantage of that window. So for like the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, Stuart was getting a huge disproportionate share of the opportunity in the marketplace. Now we're in that competitive set, like a year or 14 months later, where everybody's fighting to get in those top 3 positions. And I will share what we call our secret algorithm to be in the top 3. But just let me outline what search looks like today. So, why is this a lead to trends opportunity? Because it's right at the top of a search. And if you do it on a mobile phone, there's only 2 results, and it basically takes up the majority of your phone. So if you're not screened, if you're not approved, you're missing out, we believe, on 30 to 40% of the clicks. And these clicks now are pay per lead. So you only pay Google if it's a lead in your practice area. And down below is the pay per click, the old paid ads. It used to be on the right-hand side. Now they're below these pay per call leads, if you will. And then the maps, super important. We do a lot of work, and we'll spend some time in a minute talking about how you optimize for the Google Maps. It's the first free SEO area. And then down below is the traditional SEO. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. So here's Stuart and Stuart in the top position. If I click here on more personal injury lawyers, we see Stuart's the first one. And this might scroll down. There might be 20, 30, 50 folks who have that check mark as being screened or approved by Google. Kevin, you want to comment on, how you guys have attacked this and what you do?
Keeping an eye on it. Pretend it's your friend, and it's a friend that you want. You want him, she to like you a lot, and always talk to your friend. No, seriously though, we don't allow a lead to just sit there without our responding to it. And an hour is too long. We're on it, within minutes, really.
A minute is too long.
A minute is too long. Look, we probably should, get more sleep, but we really keep an eye on this very, very closely. And it's not just because we need to call it, but because we need to give Google Screen feedback right away. And I have noticed that, when we don't do it, we get less leads. Something in the algorithm makes it happen like that kind of thing, and the faster we are, the more feedback we give them, the dashboard, the more leads we get, and the quality is far superior too. I don't know if from the graph I provided to you guys, Google Screen already has given us better, not just leads, but actual signups than PPC has in the past 3 years. And, it's relatively new still. So it is a lot of work, but it's a good investment for sure. The feedback is so critical. It's so critical.
So what Darren and Kevin are referring to in terms of the feedback, Google Screened, or what Google calls local service ads, LSAs, is run on artificial intelligence algorithm. So there's no one sitting around at Google saying, oh, let's put Stuart number 1 today, or let's put Ken Nunn number 1 today. The algorithm is mathematically based. And so you've got to feed the algorithm with as much data and information that it wants in order to get to the top of the algorithm. So we've tried to sort of reverse engineer this secret algorithm. And I'll share what we believe today to be the most 6 important factors. But we start with the red phone, and this was an example. I don't know if it was real or not, but it was an urban myth that there was a red telephone in the Reagan White House during the Cold War. And if the Kremlin called, if Russia called, you picked up the phone and it was like a direct line from the Kremlin to the White House. But today, the red phone that you got to pick up is that LSA phone, if you will, the local service ads. So you've got to answer all calls within 15 seconds. You can't have any missed calls. And if you do, you got to immediately call them back. That's what Darren was talking about, within 1 minute. And you want to have 24/7 availability. And that's so important because this algorithm is now sort of rewarding us for that, answering the phone. And if you think about it, like, Google's not penalizing you for anything necessarily. They're just trying to develop a system that works well for the consumer. So basically, the way to think of it is, if you answer the phone quickly, professionally, and handle the calls properly, and then you give Google feedback on whether it was a good call or a bad call, then the system's going to send you more calls, because basically what Google wants to do, they want happy customers using Google. So if you're good at answering the phone, you're going to get more calls. It's that simple. You also need 1 to 2 new reviews per week. Now, this is a new thing in that algorithm. If we go back here, you see Stuart has 236 reviews. Ken Nunn has 241. This guy has 3. I don't know how he got in there. But typically you need lots of reviews. But what we've found is a new location, like if you add a new location outside of your main location, if you get 1 to 2 reviews per week in that new location, it can shoot up very quickly against people who might have 200 reviews. So the algorithm rewards you for the currency or the recency of the reviews, the 5-star and 4-star reviews by your customers. Kevin talked a lot about this, feeding data into the algorithm. He called it treating it as your friend. And basically, if you put a lot of information in there, like, this was a call from Mr. Smith, and he was in an accident, he was rear-ended, and he's going to the doctor, and we're going to meet with Mr. Smith tomorrow. He's coming into our office to sign up as a client. If you put data into the system, you're giving data to that algorithm, to that artificial intelligence algorithm. So it's very, very important to be interactive with the system. And you want to designate all those leads immediately as booked or archived. That's the Google terminology. Booked means we booked a meeting. Archive means this wasn't a fit for us. This is not in our category. And you can also dispute a lead and not pay for it if Google's asking you to pay for it. You want to select high proximity locations. So if you are looking at a new location, you want to get a location that is going to work for this algorithm. We can talk more about that. And finally, you've got to ensure your credit card limit works for the ping. And what that means is, like, you can put a super high amount on your budget. You're probably not going to be able to spend it, but you could say, well, we're willing to spend $10,000 per week in 3 different locations. Well, that's $30,000 a week in 4 locations, in 3 locations, 4 weeks. That's $120,000 a month. So your credit card has to be able to meet that silent ping, meaning if Google says, okay, if we gave them $120,000 in clicks, which I've never seen anyone come anywhere close to that in any market, but if I gave them $120,000 in clicks, their credit card's got to be able to accept that. So you really need like a black card in order to set your budgets that high. The next section is Google Maps. And Google Maps and the local service ads are joined at the hip, both in terms of how they work, how they're set up, and also how the algorithms perform. Now we see here that Stuart are number 2 in this local map search on a phone. And here they are number 2 on the same search for car accident lawyer. And that's obviously an excellent result, not quite as good as number 1, but on average, we'll show you the report. They're performing exceptionally well in maps. And like the local service ad had a secret algorithm, there is a mathematical algorithm, and like SEO itself has an algorithm, there's a bunch of factors that are going to get you higher in the maps results. So reviews, we're going to talk about in a minute, super important, but also properly setting up your Google, what used to be called Google My Business, they now call it Google Business Profile, setting up your GBP and updating your GBP, adding content to it, adding reviews, adding questions and answers, adding updates, events, et cetera, et cetera. So we do a ton of work on about a dozen different factors to improve our clients' Google Maps SEO. And frankly, we're now starting to realize the Maps SEO is more important than the traditional SEO. I mean, look at this screenshot. If you got to be in the LSAs, you got to be in the maps. I mean, the SEO and the pay-per-click isn't even on this screenshot. So it's super important that we're focused on LSA algorithm, LSA performance, the Google screen, and Maps performance as well. So Kevin did an awesome job getting Stuart and Stuart up to 237 reviews and getting the star rating up, because they really hadn't focused on it as a firm. And he used this tool called Bird Eye. So I'll let him talk about how he improved both the number of reviews and the rating, the star rating.
Bird Eye is an online reputation management tool. I think that's what they call it, right? And ultimately, it's a software platform that allows you to expedite the process of obtaining feedback from clients by making it easier for them to do so. A lot of the times what we encounter is that when, clients were ready, to take the settlement check and run, and we were asking for the feedback, the easiest answer they could give is like, well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to log into, whatever profile, whatever web search you're on, blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, what Bird Eye does is essentially you can enter their information, their phone number, their email, their name, obviously, and you can send them a direct link that actually takes them to the page where you want them to go. And all they have to do, I think by my count, is press 3 buttons and leave the review. At that point in time, you kind of take away the factor of making it complicated so that they can actually do it literally in minutes. Bird Eye actually has evolved in the past couple of years. Now it kind of becomes a lead docket of sorts where you can actually pursue the reviewee kind of thing, so once you send the link, you can send them messages in order to follow up, answer any questions they might have. And ultimately, it's a numbers game, right? So they do also have a dashboard that allows you to establish goals and assign certain amounts of, objectives to certain team members, so that, at the end of the day, if you have like a quarterly goal in terms of reviews, you can actually match the numbers in terms of the performance. So it has been great. I think when we started, we were at less than 100 reviews. I think maybe 50 or so. With Bird Eye, we've gotten over, 150 with that alone. So that has been great. And I do recall, Jay, if I am not mistaken, that when this first came out, you were kind of like on the fence about it. And I was like, I think I'm just going to do it and see what happens. At the time, I do believe there was some ethical concerns where, the platform, when it was first launched, it could only ask for positive feedback.
Right.
That was somehow against ethical standards or whatever, but
Like,
they now
against Google's terms of service.
yeah, so now they do include at the bottom, hey, you can leave other kinds of feedback, so it's fair game.
Mhm.
And it has helped us greatly, so it pays for itself. I
And
highly recommend it for anyone.
Jay, I'd jump in real quick and just say you got to ask for it. If you want positive 5-star Google feedback, you have to ask for it. You don't have to ask for the negative, obviously, but if you want that positive feedback, you have to ask for it. And I talk to my folks all the time, my team members, that when the client comes in to sign off on their settlement, usually they're in a great mood, they're getting their money, and you send them that link while you're talking to them and ask them for the feedback. I often say to them, the best thank you I can get is a referral and 5-star review. And most clients will give it to you. They're happy to. But you don't get it if you don't ask for it, and you got to be assertive with it.
Yeah, exactly. And, just suffice to say that Kevin's and Darren and team have done an awesome job moving the needle, because, when you look at 237 reviews, you see it's among the top in their marketplace, and folks are going to see you on the Google Maps, and they're going to look at your reviews. I mean, we all do it as consumers, whether you're looking at a restaurant or a shoe repair or a car accident lawyer. You're going to look at those results, and you're going to make a judgment based on the reviews. So it's a critical part of the marketing, and it's something that we as the agency haven't been able to touch. And it's one of these things that we need the client involved. And one of the other reasons why Kevin's a 12-time consecutive agency client of the month at 10 Golden Rules, because he gets his stuff done. And another reason why the guys are, one of our favorite clients is because they take our crazy suggestions and put them in the marketplace. And everything you'll see from videos and bird eyes and hockey sticks. We're also launching the beta program for what we call our VIP referral and review program. And so a kit that looks a little bit like this is going to go out to some of Stewart's past customers, and we're going to call them up and explain that they're a VIP and part of our extended family. We really appreciate them, and we're sending them a Starbucks gift card and some VIP cards. The Starbucks gift card is a little thank you, and the VIP cards are to recognize their friends and family. If they ever have an accident, they can make it easy for them to give a referral to Stewart and Stewart. And then the final piece of the puzzle, we're going to ask them for a review. And Darren said it before, you've got to ask. So you can't give people a gift card in exchange for a review, but you can make them a part of your VIP club and ask them for a review. So more to come on that great program. As I mentioned, we've really sort of improved the positioning. And so this is a tool that we're able to see how they track in a market. And if anyone's interested to see how you're performing in your market, we can show you, because when you do the search at your office, you better be in the first position, right? Like you're literally on the maps right exactly where you're sitting. But this is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3 in maps. And so this tool tells us that at Stewart and Stewart's office, they're number 1 exactly in that position. And if you go out to the west, they're also number 1, and south and north, they're number 1. But we have a little bit of opportunity for improvement if you go off here to the east a little bit. So this tool not only allows us to see how we're performing geographically, but it allows us to address a number of areas of improvement. So this tool helps us create consistent NAP and build local links and local citations. And this is all part of the technical SEO we do around Google Maps. But we see that net Stewart and Stewart in this geographic area we've defined here are on average in position 1.6 in maps, and they're in the number 1 position here in their marketplace. Next up, we're going to talk about SEO, or search engine optimization. And I often try to simplify a very complex topic by calling it the ABCs of SEO, because search engine optimization, or that natural SEO algorithm, has about 600 different factors in it. And Stewart and Stewart's doing phenomenally well. We see that they're up to, I just got to move the picture, about 2,000 search terms on the first, whatever, 100 listings of Google. So we have 2,015 listings. And the ABCs of SEO, to simplify how you mathematically deal with Google's 600 factors, simplifying it down. A is the architecture of the site. And I talked earlier about that site map, that we figure out the mapping of the site and how we're going to make it easy for Google's spiders to navigate the website. And then the speed of the website. The guys talked a couple times about how important it is, the mobile site, and how quickly and easily the mobile device can navigate the website. And this is a tool called Google's Page Speed Insights, and the website's passing the criteria there on multiple different criteria. A is architecture, so it's things like the speed and the design of the website. B is backlinks. Now, often confused, these are not links on your site. These are not something you can control on your site. This is other sites linking to you. And Stewart's almost going to cross the 2,000 backlink barrier, and you see the growth we've had over the last several years in the number of links to the site. Now, this is a superstar link that Darren got himself. We often use the term write a check, get a link. Darren, you want to talk about the Police Academy program?
Love to. In fact, it's going on this week. This is the second week of it. During the summer. It's a teen academy program that the local police department, Carmel Police Department, puts on for kids to go through a little mini basic training that police officers go through with, they shoot guns, with simunition, I think is what they call it. But they learn a lot. They go to the jail. They do. They look at the drones. They see the motorcycle police officers. They learn how to do a traffic stop, things like that, and the kids really love it. But we've been a big fan of the police in general and different programs that they have. This isn't the only one we support, but this one we've been supporting for probably 12 years. I think we buy their t-shirts and give awards and things like that. And it wasn't until Jay got on board and we started working with Jay and his team that I got the whole write a check, get a link attitude, and talked to him about getting a link back to our site from their page. And it was actually easier than I thought it would be to get them to do it. Sometimes it's, I think it can be challenging with .gov sites because they don't like to do that for whatever reason. But anyway, as Jay pointed out, getting that .gov site, it's my understanding that it gives us a credibility with Google and therefore bumps us up in the algorithm and the rankings. But so that's how we got that.
Yeah, in the early days of the backlinks algorithm, folks like ourselves, web developers and SEO companies, we would just build 50 of our own websites, and then we would link to all our clients from the 50 websites. After a while, Google figured that game out, and then you had to go out to get 50 or 100 other websites to link to your client's site. And then people started paying for links, and then Google said that was not cool. So when you can get a link from a .gov, obviously you can't pay for it. A .edu, a university, is extremely valuable. And then important websites, highly ranked websites, the higher ranked a site and the harder a link to get, essentially, Google gives you more weighting in their mathematical algorithm. Just want to take a minute to touch on some of Stuart's other community activity, including Safe and Sober, National Pet Day, and testimonials, and Mother's Day. And we didn't spend a lot of time in this presentation talking about social media, but together, working very closely with the Stuart team and our team, we have a steady stream of social media to really to talk about what Stuart does in the community and talk about the credibility for the company. Because social media is not a great lead generator. We do the job, we lay the baseline, we talk about the community activity, but it's not, you didn't see it high on Kevin's lead generator list. So it's not like we ignore it, but we I don't know, Kevin, what do we call it? Maintenance mode?
Yeah. No, but it gets your name out there.
It's branding, helps us with
it is
branding.
good branding.
Exactly.
It establishes a good feel about the brand, really, and it's a good way to engage with the audience you already do have. Who knows, maybe one day they'll have a friend that they actually do need our services, that kind of thing. So, and in terms of ROI, marketing is not cheap, especially with LSAs, all that kind of thing. This is just our time kind of thing. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I think if I could maybe put it in more practical terms, like when you're searching for a car accident lawyer, you go to Google. You don't go to Facebook, but the branding that you've done on TV, Facebook, billboards, when someone does that Google search, if they recognize your brand, you got a much better chance of getting that click and getting that client. So ABC of SEO: A is architecture of the site. It's got to be fast and easy for the spiders to read. B is backlinks, other sites linking to your site. And C is content. So we write a ton of great content with the Stuart team and add it to the site. This was an example of the brake check section of the website. And Stuart's #1 in the world for brake checking tailgaters. And then if you go to the website, there's a long article and then several sub articles talking about brake checking. And that's just one of, I guess, about 10 examples of content, because I think we do about 10 pieces of content every month for the website. So ABCs: A is architecture, website's got to be fast and easy. B is backlinks, other site linking to your site make it more important. And C, you've got to add the content, both in terms of words and also pictures and video. And so we do a lot of research using a number of different tools to find the keyword phrases, how frequently they're searched. We use some different suggestion tools, like this one's called Also Ask. We put in car accident claims and it gives us a bunch of questions that people are asking. Because if you think of it, a Google search is essentially just a question. This is another tool called Answer the Public, which gives you questions based on the term car accident. And then we take those questions and we hand them over to Darren and the rest of the team at Stuart, and they produce videos, or we together produce videos that answer the questions. So the next section is about video, and I'm going to try and play a video here. So bear with me for 1 sec. And this is one of Darren's recent videos. Okay. Zoom wants me to put in a code here, so give me 1 second. All right, so we will we'll just try this the old-fashioned way, which is I'm putting my mic beside my computer.
Any Seinfeld fans out there? You remember the episode where George's mom or someone they stopped short. They stopped short on him and he put his hand out there and touched my mom or something like that nature. I'm always reminded of that episode when I hear about brake checking. People in front of you slamming on the brakes, because that episode was about, I think Kramer was claiming that the vehicle in front of him stopped short or brake checked him, and that's why he had to slam on his brakes. At any rate, brake checking is a real thing. Surprisingly, there are people that brake check semis. It happens. There are people that brake check you. And I have clients come to me and just recently had someone say, hey, I rear-ended somebody. And I'm like, well, that's probably your fault. And they're like, well, wait a minute, Darren, wait a minute. There was nothing in front of them. They slammed on their brakes right in front of me. It almost seemed like they meant to do it. There was nothing in front of them. It wasn't like a squirrel ran in front of them. There was no cars in front of them. They just hit their brakes really hard right in front of me. Is this still my fault? Well, now that changes things, doesn't it? Because that may mean it's not your fault for rear-ending them. They have a duty, and you have the right to believe that they are going to obey the rules of the road. They're not going to slam on their brakes and stop in an unreasonable manner. They are going to put their turn signal on when they're ready to make a turn. All of those things allow the person following them, my client, to know that what they're doing and to drive accordingly. They're not necessarily allowed to just slam on their brakes, to whip it into a parking lot or driveway without signaling and aggressively stopping and expect the car behind them to be able to read their mind and anticipate that. So that is a scenario where we may be able to recover from them. They're the at-fault driver. Things that are very important in that scenario are evidence. Any video evidence, if you have a dash cam, if there was someone traveling behind you or in the opposite direction that stopped and said, hey, it's on my dash cam video. If you've got things like that, that's very helpful to hold them down or lock in the at-fault driver for what they really did. And it also keeps them from saying after the fact that, oh, no, I didn't stop fast and I even put my signal on, when it may not be necessarily the truth. Now, you do have a duty to follow and drive in a reasonable manner. So that doesn't excuse you if, for example, you're in traffic and the traffic comes to a quick stop or a quick slowdown, rush hour on the interstate or a busy road here we travel on, and traffic comes to an abrupt stop for whatever reason. It just does when traffic's heavy. You have a duty to anticipate that, follow at a safe distance, keep your car traveling in a manner that you're able to stop under those circumstances, and that wouldn't apply. But like I said, when this client called me and said, oh, there was nothing in front of them, there wasn't a car in sight in front of them, there were no square, they just decided at the last second, oh, they wanted to make this turn, slammed on the brakes and turned, and that's what caused them to rear them. That changes everything, and we should talk about that. That may be something we'd like to talk about for sure.
That was my impersonation of a Jackie Chan film or something. What? Poorly dubbed.
Oh, the audio didn't work that well. I'm sorry.
On my computer, it wasn't linked up right.
There's a button you can share properly, and it worked in my trial. Anyway, so this video strategy is particularly effective. And what we do is get Darren in the studio. It's really just at the Stewart and Stewart boardroom. We bring a videographer in and we attend by Zoom, and we go through about a dozen questions every quarter, meaning 12. So we're trying to get one question and answer every week. And the reason for questions I mentioned before, if somebody does a Google search, they're essentially asking a question. And if you do a great job, like Darren just did, answering the question, you're positioning your website for Google search. You're search engine optimizing your website. We put the videos on YouTube because YouTube is owned by Google and it's part of the SEO algorithm. And then those videos also go on the website. So this is a concept we've had for many years called cascading content. So essentially the video is optimized, search engine optimized on YouTube. Then it's added to a blog on the website. Then we add it to Google Maps. We talked earlier about the importance of search engine optimizing. So lots of updates and videos go on Google Maps. And then we also use it throughout the social media. So essentially we're asking and answering questions that folks have top of mind. And we try and cover as many new questions as we can, like, can I recover damages if I'm involved in an Uber or Lyft car accident? So guys, what kind of feedback have you had from the video and optimization program?
Kevin?
It's good feedback. I think it's relevant. And, a lot of the times Darren does, kind of like work closely with Bree, not myself necessarily, and coming up with questions that he legitimately has been asked in recent times. And a lot of the times that's how he opens up the video. I had a client just the other day. They were involved in a bus accident or something like that. And sometimes there are questions that, you might not just find right quick, that it does point to the fact that sometimes you do need an attorney, in order to navigate situations that are actually a little bit more complicated just than a fender bender or something like that. So I think the questions being relevant is a key component, and you do need somebody who knows the law for that kind of thing. So,
We're also tweaking them a little bit toward the entertainment side.
mm-hmm.
Because as attorneys, we tend to be very dry, matter of fact, here's the law, and generally speaking, the public it's boring. And if you just focus on that, you're going to lose them after a few seconds. So that was a good example of it with the Seinfeld lead-in, talking about that a little bit. It's entertaining, it gets people's attention, and they listen to it. So we're trying to do a better job of that. So we're working on that, the grab factor at the beginning.
The other thing I love about this cascading content concept is we get extremely high value from Darren and the team without taking a ton of his time.
Mm-hmm.
So in about an hour, he can shoot those dozen videos. And then we've got this great content for an entire quarter for 3 months, where we put one video up every week, both for SEO and also for Google Maps and social media. All this goes on a social media calendar, and Kevin's awesome at working with us to review and approve the calendar. And you need a map to know where you're going in life. You need a checklist to make sure you get everything done. And a calendar is one of those things that if we put everything on a calendar, then we get it done. We know what we're doing for the month. So that's an awesome new strategy that we've come up with over the years. So with that, it brings us to sort of our conclusion. I wanted to talk about my section is what makes a great client, and what qualifies Darren and Kevin for the 10 Golden Rules Client of the Month. And then I'm going to ask them to talk about selecting an agency and working with an agency partner. And then we'll just review and we'll be happy to take some questions. So, the first thing from our perspective that makes a great client is approving stuff. And I know that's relatively straightforward, but, many of our clients say, oh, I'll review the copy. And a week goes by and 2 weeks go by and a month goes by. I mean, if the client doesn't approve the SEO copy, the content that goes on the website, if the client doesn't approve the social media, it just doesn't get on the website. And, in years ago, before we came up with these videos, We sometimes waited 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get copy on a website. And you're not going to improve SEO if you're not adding content to the website. As simple as that. So the client's got to be responsive and approve stuff. The second thing I would say is really important is trust. Make sure you hire an agency that's, that you've vetted well, and we know what we're doing, but trust us. And we recently had a client go in and change all their LSA settings, the local service ad settings, about a week after we'd, gone through a full review of the account and made a number of changes. One of the things we know about that, the Google screen, the local service ads algorithm, is you've got to try and wait, 30 days, but maybe even 60 or 90 days after you make big changes in the account. The algorithm just is not like pay-per-click. Like, you can't turn the bids up and down. And this client went in and changed everything, and basically set us back probably at least a week, but probably several weeks. So you've got to trust and don't sort of get in there and do stuff without talking to the agency, because the Google, the Facebook, the website is not simple anymore. Making a simple change on your website could mess a lot of things up. So you really need to trust the professional, get the right professionals, and trust the professionals. The other thing is pretty simple. It's just like show up, and show up on time, and be engaged, and be in, we do all our meetings on a Zoom meeting. And I know it's a simple request from the agency, but you've got to think it's also a two-way street, right? Even though you're dealing with an agency, you're dealing with people, and people have time and schedules and busy lives. And if the client shows up late and not on Zoom and not with good audio and stuff like that, we can't do our job. But it's, think of the individuals on my team. It's frustrating for them, and the clients who show up and they're enthusiastic and they're thankful for the work that the team did. Like, forget the fact that you're paying an agency. The people working on your team are individuals. So showing up and on time, and also paying your bills on time might sound like a request from the agency owner, but all of that is the team knows when the client's engaged and thankful and giving the positive energy back. And then the final thing, and this is something I learned the hard way early in my agency life, is give positive feedback before you give negative feedback. Like, if we show you a new landing page, a new website, a new plan for something, or a new recommendation, try very hard, even if you don't love the idea, to find 2 or 3 good things and thank the agency for being creative. Because if you always just point out the negatives, it's going to be you're going to be giving negative energy, and after a while you're not going to get new ideas, you're not going to get new creative from the agency, because if everything's always the wet blanket, you're not going to get that positivity. So there's some thoughts from my side about how you can be a great client and win the client of the month, and just part of what Kevin does a great job. He's super quick with approvals. He's super responsive. He's always there, always 24-hour turnaround on any, requests or technical things we need, or passwords or logins. And, he does trust us, and he does jump on some of those new technologies, like whether it's a, lead docket, or the Bird Eye, or LSAs, or and now our VIP program. Both Darren and Kevin and the rest of the Stewart team are willing to innovate with us. And, we can't move the needle on new things if nobody will try them with us. We often try things out on 10 golden rules, and then we roll it out to our clients. So guys, with that, I have a slide for you too. I'd love your feedback on, what makes a great agency, and when you're picking, partners like us or your TV agency, what's important in picking a great partner on the agency side?
Kevin, I'll jump in real quick. I think first of all, you got to be comfortable with them. But I think another important aspect is you can't just pick any agency who has a broad spectrum. Maybe they'll work, but my preference is picking an agency that caters to your profession. And sometimes it's not only your legal profession, but specifically case type, because the clients I'm going after online, I want them to know how to go get them. I want to know that I want them to know that demographic and what they do, and they may be different, and likely are different from what a large law firm would be looking for in a client and their website. So it's not just an attorney website. So specifically someone who does that kind of thing, which is what brought us to Jay, led us to Jay, his knowledge in that, not only his general knowledge, but his focus in this area.
Thank you. Kevin, what do you think about your agency partners?
Yeah, what I would say actually is choose them just like you would a team member who works with you day to day here in the office. You see what I'm saying? We have taken the time, and Darren actually has taken the time to delineate what our company's, core values are, one by one, and really describe what each point means, taking ownership, being consistent, that kind of thing. And, the way I look at Bree and the work relationship that we have, she has taken ownership in terms of like, if something wasn't working on a Saturday, she actually went in herself and did it instead of like delegating, that kind of thing, so I would definitely say that choose them based on how you would want to choose somebody who works with you here in the office on the day to day. I think that's huge.
And Jay, I would just say that if anybody has specific questions after the webinar, they're free to reach out to me on my email. Be happy to respond.
Awesome. And by the way, this might be 2 years from now, Darren. So you can go to getstewart.com and find Darren or 10goldenrules.com, and we'll be happy to connect you with the guys. So with that, I just had one last thought, and then we'll take a few questions. And I just kind of wanted to sum up how you win. How do you get a hockey stick? So first of all is we talked about designing the website, and it's got to be mobile friendly. It's got to be fast. It's got to be Google SEO friendly, and then it's got to be consumer conversion friendly. And it also helps to have a powerful branding and positioning and authentic images. Then we talked about innovation and jumping on things. 10 golden rules. Golden rule number 10 is lead the trends. Taking advantage of those things. So like when I hear about something 2 or 3 times, I'm in and I'm testing it immediately. If I can test it for 10 golden rules, if it's specific to my clients, I try and get a couple of clients on a beta test. So those local service ads were fantastic. When you were the first 3 to 5 to 10 people approved, you were getting 100% or 30% of all exposures. Now it's a more competitive game, but we've also staying on top of the leading edge of what's working in the local service ads. Testing new things like Bird Eye. Kevin took the leap and did an amazing job with that. And then we get into things like Google Maps, getting reviews. We shared the secret algorithm. You need 1 to 2 reviews per week. You got to answer the phone. And if Google's tracking how quickly you answer the phone for local service ads, I'm betting that they're also applying that to the Maps algorithm and the SEO algorithm and the pay-per-click algorithm. So you better make sure that you've got a system to answer the phone 24/7, take calls 24/7 as well. Then we talked about our content program, answering questions, and also using video. Video is like amplifying your SEO. So your search engine optimization. If you answer questions in the form of a blog, that's good. But if you got a video blog, that's awesome. And the great job that Darren and the team are doing by answering those questions. We're optimizing them on YouTube. We're using them on the blog, on the website, and then we're also using them for great social media content. So with that, we're gonna take some questions, guys, if that's okay. Unless you have anything you wanted to add or sum up. No? Okay. I'm gonna make us, how do I stop share, and then I can see you all and we can see questions here. So please feel free to type questions into the chat or the Q&A. And the first question comes from Aaron. It says, sorry, Jay, but a tricky question for Stuart. How hard is it to do business with a marketing agency online and not meet in person?
I hadn't even thought of that. It's not a problem at all, really. I met Jay in person a couple times. He was a presenter at some of the seminars that I go to. One in particular that I attend every 6 months. That's market exclusive. A group of attorneys that share information, and he presented there. Um, but honestly, I've never really thought of that. It's never been a problem. I don't need him sitting across the table from me to do what we're doing. We do it all by video. If he can't do it by video and make it work that way, how's he going to make my digital work?
That's good.
But it doesn't. I guess it doesn't bother me. I'm not making light of your question. It just doesn't occur to me as a problem, as an issue.
It's actually, we've been doing this for years because we used to meet on GoToMeeting with you all, and we were GoToMeeting partners. I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years ago. They
July
sponsored
of 2018. That's when we started. Yep.
Yeah, they sponsored my podcast GoToMeeting, so we've been Zooming before Zoom. Question from Tiffany, also for the Stewart team. Did you see an improvement in your business after doing the video marketing?
Yes, is the short answer, but I'll hand that over to Kevin because he's my numbers guy.
I would say yes. And, when it comes down to branding, there's a certain effect that you really cannot attribute just to like hard numbers, and I think we have done a lot of things right all at once, but I think that has been part of it, and if not, the direct lead generation, I think that the kind of reputation that we have online has improved too. You know what I mean? So, we used to get, a lot of hate comments, from unhappy people all the time. I mean, I wouldn't say like a lot, but, nowadays we really don't have that, and I think changing what the brand stands for a lot, has got a lot to do with that. So I would say, yes, the impact has been good. And, once again, when you're doing videos, just like you would TV, you're not just for the short term, it's about the long haul. You know what I mean? So I think we're trying to diversify our bets, right? We have short term with PPC, LSAs, that kind of thing. And we're continuing to build a brand, for the long term, that kind of, so I do think it's important.
That's an interesting question because, and the question was, did video improve the marketing? I was trying to figure out when the hockey stick really started to hit that steep incline. And there was two things, it was the new website and the introduction of video seemed to give us like a supercharged turbo booster.
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing on your website when you're doing a blog, having a video that goes with it. I like to do things that I want to see. When I look at something I'm shopping for, I want to see a video. I guess I'm a visual learner. So I think having the video wherever possible, even if it's 30 seconds or very short video on your website on different topics, I just think makes a huge difference because people like that.
By the way, the opposite is true too, because there's some people sitting there saying, well, I never would watch a video.
Right.
And that's true because there's there's different types of web users. Like there's video people who look for videos and want to see a video. And sometimes we do want to see a video. Like if you're trying to unclog your drain or something, you might go to YouTube and specifically search for video. And then there's other times where you don't want video. I'm a clicker. I try and click around and find the quickest answer. And my VP used to be a reader, and we'd go meet a client, and she'd know more about the client than the client. And I'd say, "How do you know that?" "Oh, I read the website." I'm like, "When did you read the website?" "Oh, last night." "You read the entire website." So just keep in mind that if you're not a video person, or you're not a content person, or you're not a clicker, there are different types of web users.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sneak in a question that I had, Darren. I had watched, I guess, the first minute of that video, but I had never watched the entire 3 minutes of the brake check video. Should everybody have a dash cam today?
I think we've already done a video on that, or we're getting ready to do a video on that. Absolutely. They're so inexpensive. They're so cheap. That's what I was going to talk about in the video. I mean, certainly less than $20, you can have a decent dash cam, and they record over the tape, and then when you're in an impact, it'll record it. I think it's very important. Now, I suppose if the wreck's your fault, maybe it's not a great thing, but man, I wish all my clients had it, especially those cases where they're the at-fault drivers trying to wiggle out of it, or trying to shift some of the liability over to them for one thing or another.
Great. Question from Amy. Jay, a question about the reviews box. How much should a law firm be involved in this? Is the law firm the one that keeps the boxes and delivers them? How can you talk more about this? Oh, so this is our VIP review program. Well, Kevin actually started the program himself with mailing out some promotional merchandise they had in the office, and then now we're formalizing it where I think 5 are going to go out every week, and we're going to call the folks and follow up. Which reminds me, Kevin, we're going to need some names and addresses from you. So we're using a professional fulfillment house. It's built and it's designed to scale, so we can do this for all our clients. And we believe it's going to be a tremendous success, both in generating more referrals, because in the industry we used to do VIP parties, and the law firm would host folks at a buffet or a Golden Corral or a pizza buffet. And with COVID in the last 2 or 3 years, we haven't been able to do any of these VIP parties. So this is an evolution of the VIP party, the VIP box, to build that relationship with your past customers and remind them you're there, and give them the VIP card and give them a bunch of your promotional swag, so you're top of mind if a friend or family member is injured.
Yeah.
And then obviously the review piece is a cherry on top of referrals, because no business, our business and your business, can't survive without referrals. Referrals are the golden tickets.
Yep.
The web leads are built on top of it.
Then we got the hot sauce issue. We just got contacted, Kevin, if somebody, we at the beginning, Jay kind of teased me a little bit about the fire truck. I have a fire truck, and we put it in parades. 4th of July, we just did it. And when people have special events, we sponsor a lot of things with kids and things like that. Some churches will take the fire truck there so they can look at it. But we have a little table, and we'll give out some of our swag. One of the things we have is 4 different kinds of hot sauces that are private label with our what we think is funny labeling. And so, but anyway, we were at one recently, and someone's called Kevin and said, "I'm all out of it. Do you have any more of this stuff? I'll pay for it." So must be good.
Still not too late to get the hot sauce in the box.
I think we
All
got
right,
some good feedback from him too.
Question from Lee. Thanks, Lee. If you were to break down how much time you spend on LSA feedback data and the Bird Eye review platform, how much time on a daily or weekly basis do you spend on these necessities?
Monday through Friday, 1 hour a day, minimum. And if you have an intake department, Google Screen is actually really helpful for intake purposes too, because you record the calls. So I double dip, and while we're listening to the calls and providing the feedback, we use them for training purposes. Especially if it's an auto accident, for instance, clear liability, that kind of thing that we teach in the intake department. Injuries, treatment, insurance coverage. Maybe there's a commercial policy, something like that. All of that, we dissect the call, and we provide the feedback as we go along. So yeah, probably an hour a day. And we incorporate Google Screen. Really, it's one of our KPIs in terms of our intake department. We send a summary each day to a email distribution list. The partners are on it. Other key members of the firm are on it. And, one of the KPIs at the very top is the Google Screen maintenance. So before we send that out, it has to be completed. It's really useful. So I would integrate it with intake purposes a lot, because it does help. So, yeah.
That's awesome. You touch on intake. We don't have a section specifically on intake, but we had a great session, I guess a couple of years ago now, with Chris Mullins, who's one of the world's leading intake specialists. She wrote a great book on law firm intake. And when we talk about intake, we're talking about the folks who answer the phone. And there's a really important role. Our webinar in September coming up will be covering the intake topic, and Chris Mullins has agreed to be our guest. But guys, what are some of the things that you coach your intake department on?
Kevin, go ahead.
Everything is a negotiation. Everything that you do 24/7 is a negotiation, and it's not a negotiation in which there's always a winner and a loser. I think the ultimate goal of any good intake department, any good intake team member, is to come up with a scenario in which everyone wins. We are here trying to help people, and we need to convince them that we're the right the right team to do so. And thinking of every lead as sales with a sales mindset, that should be the goal. Don't have just some regular paralegal do your intake. I
No.
think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think
Because here's why I'm sorry to interrupt. Here's why. If you're like me, your paralegals already think they have too many files.
Mhm.
They're already overworked. They don't want another file. So that's the last person in the world you want taking a new client call.
You need to have a go-getter, somebody who wants to get the sale done, and somebody who's system oriented and detail oriented, and then you will be all set. And I think, a lot of firms look down on intake, like departments as a whole, and they're vital to, and, if we don't get the people in the door, no one has cases to work. So I would invest a lot of time and resources on intake as a whole, because they will get you the cases you want. So
Yeah, I want scrappy, hungry people, and all those words in the best sense of the words, that are just very assertive, if not aggressive, but in a professional, good way, helpful way with people that just don't want to take no for an answer because they want that case so bad. They want to open it so bad. And we celebrate the last thing Kevin was talking about, your intake department. You're right, and we used to be that way. It was like intake. It was it wasn't open. It wasn't something you consciously thought about, but you kind of focus on your attorney and your paralegals as making the money. Well, guess what? They're not going to make any money if your intake isn't working. So we really do celebrate our intake, almost daily, but certainly weekly. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You're just complimenting, going back, great job on this one. They love that. And it makes a big difference. And talking about them in front of the rest of the office, the way I just said. Look, the rest of us wouldn't have a job if it weren't for these people going after these cases.
And it's a tough job. It is a tough job. What was the statistic? For every yes you get in your life, you're going to get 6 no's. Same thing here. Statistically speaking, in sales, you have to pursue something 5 times in order to get the sale. And you have to take no for an answer a lot. And people are upset. So it's a tough job, and they.
The last thing is, if you can have an in-house that you control and you nurture and develop, I think, in my opinion, is much better than a service. Not that having a service is bad, but there's a lot to the quality control if you have it in-house.
I realize we touched on something, but I didn't necessarily clearly explain it. And that was that concept of write a check, get a link. And there is a question coming. But that's something that Darren mentioned that I perhaps harassed him about because we can go out and get a lot of great links for our clients. The example of the .gov link is the one I'm going to ask you about in a minute, Darren. But the concept is, if you work with a court reporter and you're a law firm, and they come back and they say, hey, our rates are going up this year. We need to talk to you about our rates. And you're doing your annual negotiation with the court reporter. The term write a check, get a link is, this is a business vendor. They're in the legal community, meaning that Google knows that the website is a legal website, and maybe they're in your local market. And so use that concept of write a check, get a link, ask them, say, hey, yeah, well, I understand your prices have to go up a little bit and you've got some additional expenses, and you negotiate the contract. But one thing you negotiate is we want a permanent link on your website, from your website to our website. And if we have to, we'll write you a little blog post that you can put on your blogs about, strategies, 7 things to do after a car accident. And then you link to us as the author of that blog post. But whether it's a local baseball team or the charities you get involved with, and in this case, I'm going to ask you the question about that came in also from Lee. How did you get the donation to the kids training? How did you get the .gov link? Ask your partners when you write a check or when you do something in the community. Ask them for a link to your website. But Darren, how did you make that happen?
I just asked for it. I mean, but obviously over the years, we've been with them for 12 years. I've developed a lot of good relationships, and in fact, friends with a lot of the officers over there, and they bring cases to us. They bring their personal cases to us, so we've gotten a lot of good cases out of it. It's really a give back to the community. That's really what it's about. But you know, we all are in business to try and help people and run a business to make money. So that's part of it too. But no, I just asked him. I just said, hey, we got to have this on there. And I guess I approached the person that I knew the best and that I thought would be the best person to run it up the chain of command to get a yes. And that's what happened.
Awesome. Well, the last question comes from Jared. Jay, how important is social media for a law firm? And for the Stewart team, do you think this brings you a lot of business? So I guess they asked me first, how important is social media for a law firm? And, you know, I think the guys answered that question earlier, and they said it's really part of branding. And I think that's the best answer, because I said that, you know, particularly in single incident, in law, in things like car accidents and slip and falls and things like that, you generally would not go to Facebook to search through all your feed to look for a law firm. You search through Facebook to see what your friends and family in high school, people who went to high school with, are up to. So you go to Google and you search for car accident lawyer or slip and fall attorney, your best attorney near me. And so Google is really where we focus most of our effort on client conversion opportunities. And as we said, it's the LSAs, it's the maps, it's the pay-per-click, it's the SEO. It's really all about Google. But social media, I kind of say it's like the checkoff, if you will, because a lot of people might come to the law firm's website or the agency's website, and if they're Facebook people or Instagram people or LinkedIn people, they might check you out on their social media of choice. So I say it's like a deal breaker, and it's like a social validator, if you will. A lot of people will go to Facebook just to see, like, you know, do these guys have any updated posts? Do they do anything in the community? And they might not even know that consciously what they're doing is just like a quality check. But I believe social media has a function of branding and quality checking, but it's not a direct case generator. Guys, what do you think in terms of how much business you get from social media?
I'll just quickly jump in on that one. As we speak here during this webinar, the Teen Academy is happening, and one of my attorneys, Nick Wagner, is actually down there with a videographer, videoing some of these things that are going on. They were doing a
Awesome
motorcycle ride, police officer motorcycle demonstration, and their drone demonstration, which I wish I could have gone to. Apparently, they have a $50,000 drone that they use at special events. Anyway, so he's getting video of that, and we're going to put together some short things for social media. But up front, when I talked to him about doing this, I was talking to the chief, and I said, you know, we'll share this with you. You guys put it on your website if you want. So they're going to put it on their website, some of these videos, and their social media. It remains to be seen what it will do for us, but it sure as heck isn't going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. I mean, this was a lot of fun for me, and it's a fresh new way to share some of our strategies. So thank you so much for your time and your partnership and your friendship.
Oh, thanks, Jay.
And Kevin, congratulations again on your award. Show that award again.
Yes, congratulations, Kevin.
Who got me this? Did you get this?
We did. We did.
Okay.
That came out really nice, didn't it?
I know. That's great. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Jay.
We'll enjoy. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.